What's up guys, Cody here with another Ethereal video. Today taking a look at the Marina Spotlight video. For those that don't know, I'm a high elo support main in League of Legends. I've been Diamond the last 3 or 4 seasons, and I've also done a lot of coaching for others in the role as well. So with Marina being a heavy enchanter support orientated myth, I'm going to be very critical of her kit. So let's jump right on into it. The format for this is going to be a little different than my other videos. I'm going to go in depth on each ability one at a time because there's a lot I want to say. So Marina's passive, Mark of the Cerulean, makes her offensive spells mark enemy miss. Allies can attack those targets to proc the mark to deal additional magic damage. That ally will also be healed and gains movement speed. Marina can break her own mark for basic attack for 50% of the effects. So Marina's got a lot of AoE abilities in her kit, so she can mark several enemies at once very easily, which is going to be great for team fights. The mark is going to deal damage and heal, but the fact that it gives move speed is what's going to make it extremely strong. The ability to run somebody down, disengage, or just dodge skill shots more easily is valuable to everyone, even if it's only going to be a couple times during the fight. The only issue I have with this ability is that it incentivizes Marina to not attack, not basic attack, meaning you're losing out on overall damage. In a team fight, this doesn't really matter. Your auto attacks aren't doing that much at that point anyways. But in a 2v2 lane, the auto attack damage is extremely valuable. So it's just awkward feeling forced to wait for my ADC to do something before I can basic attack. Marina's special ability, Deep Song, charms enemies in a cone in front of her. She loses almost all of her movement speed during the song, and she can cancel the ability anytime by recasting it. This ability's only use is to disrupt engages or dives onto her backline or herself. You will not be using this ability aggressively. So this ability's usefulness hinges entirely on how easy it is for enemies to get to the backline. If there's only one, maybe two myths that ever have a chance at reaching the backline, then this ability is going to be very strong. If she only has to worry about one threat, one direction, when that person tries to walk up, she'll just charm them and her team will just have to focus them and kill them. If there's multiple threats to the backline though, she can't stop them all with this one ability. So when she uses this to stop one, she's a sitting duck and all the other threats are going to kill her. With what we've seen so far in other myths, I'm leaning towards this being more so useless, although I'm not fully convinced of that yet. Some gameplay will change my mind. Her first ability, Soothing Waters, creates a bubble that after a short while bursts to heal allies and damage enemies. Not a whole lot to say about this one. The area of effect seems to be just large enough to actually hit multiple people. Based on how spread out people are during fights in the alpha, this might get adjusted, but it seems balanced right now. It doesn't seem too big or too small. There is a delay to this ability, so using this aggressively is going to require setup to actually damage enemies with it. It will be a great ability though when you prioritize healing with it instead of dealing damage, especially when paired with her next ability. Pearl of the Ocean, her second ability, shields an ally myth. The ability has multiple charges and you can stack shields on the same target but at reduced effectiveness. This ability is bonkers and is probably the hardest one to balance for a couple different reasons. First off, she gets 3 charges from what we can see in the video. And she can stack the shields. If the shield is too strong early on, in a 2v2 lane or even in a 1v1, it's going to deny so much damage and give you a lot of free harass. In this case, the shield would probably end up with a long cooldown, meaning it would kind of be useless in teamfights since it would take so long to get a 4th charge on it. On the other side, the shield has a low cooldown but isn't that strong, is going to be better in teamfights since it's up more, but worse in lane. So the hard part with this ability is where you want the balance to lie and where you want its weakness to be. Overall, it'll be an OP ability one way or another. Third ability, Riptide, passively grants Marina move speed while on top of water. As an active, it summons a pool of water which slows enemies and damages them over time. Okay, first off, this ability doesn't have a spawn animation at all. It just appears? By far the thing I hate the most visually with the kit. It, at the very least, better have an audio cue or something. The area of this ability seems pretty big, and the cast range also seems large. They didn't show us, though, how much move speed reduction it applies, and obviously we don't have the damage numbers. But with how safe it is and how big it is, if its numbers are too high, then it's going to be extremely broken. Also remember that this is going to proc her passive on every enemy inside it, so her team is going to end up being significantly faster while the enemy takes a whole lot of damage. And once again, move speed is extremely valuable. Being able to apply this in such a large area can be very overpowered. As for the passive part of this, it's okay. As an enchanter, you're generally not roaming all that much, and from what we've seen, the rivers run horizontally through the center of the lanes, so you can't utilize the passive unless you're in the middle of the map. Let you walk faster across your pool, but it doesn't look like it's by that much, so it's really going to be useful as an escape option. Atropos is, however, surrounded by water, so maybe this will be useful in fights around Atropos. We'll see. Finally, Marina's ultimate, the Great Storm. It summons a storm that heals allies, and if used above any water source, lightning will strike the area and reduce all enemy damage by a percentage. So yeah, remember how I just mentioned how Atropos has a bunch of water around him? Yeah, this ability makes fighting for Atropos very scary. And if you're not in an area with water, Marina can summon Riptide and use a storm on that. This ability, combined with the rest of her kit, I think forces the enemy to get anti-heal. I just don't see how you manage to win fights versus her without it. Unless you have some insane burst damage, which none of the myths so far really do. Noxus is probably going to have good burst damage, but relying on one myth to deal with all this is... oof. The only way Marina's ult is going to be bad is if the area is actually really small that it covers. And I don't think it's going to be a small area since it's called the Great Storm. But from the video, it's actually very difficult to see how big of an area it covers, which is the second and only other gripe I have with the kit visually. So, will Marina be good? Yes, I think they've taken the idea of an enchanter and created a kit specifically designed for a 6v6 environment. Also, there's only going to be 7 myths, so she can't be bad. She's going to feel very strong at launch, since enchanters don't have to do much thinking to punish player mistakes. But as time goes on, people are going to learn how to actually abuse Marina, especially as more crowd control is added. So yeah, that's going to be it for the Marina Spotlight review. Did anything in this make me want to play her more than before? Not really. If she's literally the only real viable option for support, then I guess. But then at that point, I probably wouldn't want to play support. The skill cap of an enchanter is generally very low, and the impact on your game is directly tied to how competent your team is, since you're not doing the damage and you're not the one making the plays either. I'm not saying enchanters are bad. In fact, in a 6v6, each team might be obligated to have one if there's not enough burst damage in the game. All I'm saying is that I'd rather have influence over how the early game went, instead of watching my team die over and over again while I'm stuck in lane. One final thing about Marina though. We might see her being played in the quote-unquote carry role. Reasoning behind this is that you would still get the enchanter that you want for your team, but you pair her with a tanky support to help get her through the laning phase unharmed, essentially removing the frailty of what the lane could have been if she was the support paired for carry. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more ethereal content. Reminder, you can catch me streaming most evenings on my Twitch, link in the description below. And a new episode of Anima Talks should be out this Thursday. If you didn't see the last one, go check it out. We had an in-depth discussion on the jungle, our opinions on double jungling, and the problems that could arise from it. Anyways, thanks guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.